Howdy ho neighbors, Radio Goji here.
And I'm Soylent Greg.
And welcome to another tier list video. Whereas Greg was talking about the things that I don't know about, now I'm talking about things that we both know about, so there we go.
You would have been well within your rights to pick something that I don't know the first goddamn thing about, but
we got Mega Man games
you
this
were too
time
nice.
around. I know that Greg hasn't played all of these. I haven't played all. I mean, the only one I haven't played in its entirety is Mega Man and Bass. But I've played all of these.
I have played like half of these. I've not played any of the Mega Man Game Boy games, incidentally. So this is Patrick's tier, by the way.
Yeah,
this is him ranking, not me.
My rankings here. You may disagree with some of these. I think most of it is going to be okay. I mean, not that I need to worry about agreeing with everyone, but you know what I mean. All right. So rather than going in the order that they're giving me here, I'm going to go in order of
Game.
in order of the main series games. I'm probably going to throw Mega Man and Bass in between 7 and 8 because that's when it first came out. And then I'm going to save the Game Boy games for last.
Good. Yeah, no,
Okay.
That's what I would do as well.
Okay, so starting off with the NES ones, we got the first Mega Man. This is a game kind of like the first Zelda game. I don't like this game very much. This game is very rough around the edges. And it's understandable because of the first game, and they didn't really perfect the formula and everything until at the very least the next game. But I can understand why people do like the game. There are some really cool things in it. The Robot Masters are still, they're good with personality. The soundtrack is awesome. I mean, the soundtrack is pretty much awesome in any of these games for the most part. But it's not one that I go back to. It's not one that I particularly enjoy, so I'm putting it into C tier for that one.
I would put it higher than that, but I would put it lower than that if it were not for the presence of the Yellow Devil pause glitch.
Yeah. I played through this game one time. I mean, I was still on the 3DS. So I was still able to use Restore Point to keep my progress in between play sessions. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I didn't use Restore Points. I didn't use glitches. And I'm never doing that again. Because fuck the Yellow Devil and fuck the last Wily level. The last Wily level sucks too. Mega Man 2 is where people might start getting a little bit iffy with me. Then again, if you've... I've played many of these games on this channel multiple times, so many of you may know my opinions about these games.
Who amongst us does not enjoy the man that is Mega?
But Mega Man 2, I like Mega Man 2, but it's not my favorite. I still think it's a tad overrated. I still think that the main reason people like it so much is because of that one song, which is a good song, by the way. Don't get me wrong, but
Bubble Man song.
Well, the Bubble Man. I mean, the entire soundtrack is good. But I'm talking about the obviously the Wily song.
Yeah.
I know you were trying to make a joke and I ruined. I'm sorry. I would place this personally. I would place it as A rank. I do like the game for the majority of it. I'm not so hot on the Wily levels themselves.
You're turning me into the SimCity man. You can't cut back on funding. You will regret this. Man. You can't put Mega Man 2 in A tier. You will regret this.
Hey, A tier is 4 out of 5, and that's still pretty good as far as I can see.
Oh, man, though.
It's again, I don't like the Wily stages in this game. The music is good, but that's pretty much it. The fucking turret boss, are you fucking kidding me? It's bullshit.
Look, you know how like in like ancient China they would make or is it Japan? They would make like the beautiful vase, but they would make it with like a single flaw because the flaw highlights the perfection of the rest of it. That's the turret boss in Mega Man 2.
Oh yeah, the Robot Master weapons are kick-ass as well in this.
Oh fuck yes. Even if Metal Blade is just broken.
Yeah. That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Mega Man 3, I will fully admit, is my favorite classic Mega Man game. I mean, the fact that I've played through the game at least 4 times on this channel should be evidence of that enough.
Some of them sober.
Some of them sober, yes. But yeah, I love this game. I always go back and play this game, like even every once in a while. I mean, the only game I think that I would place above this, like in all of Mega Man, would be Mega Man X. But 3 is definitely my favorite of the classic series, and maybe because it's a little bit easier. But you know, when I play video games, I like to have a chill, relaxing, fun time, and this is kind of perfect for that for me. Even if some of the Robot Master weapons are poop. But I love the soundtrack. I like the level design. Top marks for me. S rank. Mega Man 4 is okay. It is not by any means. I only know like one person who this is their favorite. That's Jordan. But it's also like the only game that I think it was the only one of the games that he played when he was younger. So that kind of goes out. It's still a good game, but it's not one that I go back to. I'm just gonna put this as B. There were some neat things that they did in this, but they were whatever happened to the balloon and the wire, the weapons, those were pretty cool. But you know, other than that, they're just kind of there. Mega Man 5. I think it's mainly nostalgia talking for this one, but I love this fucking game.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's not my personal favorite. I would say that's my third favorite overall. I mean, in the classic series anyway. I don't really know what it is. I just really, really like it. There are some parts that are really hard and frustrating, especially near the end, especially when I'm drunk, as we've seen. But yeah, there's just something about it. I go back to this every once in a while, so I put that in S rank there. Mega Man 6 is my second favorite in the classic series. This is one I've been going back to a lot recently as well. I actually trained myself to play this drunk. This is when we had the Zima and everything a couple of years back.
Ah, yes.
But yeah, that was one of my favorite drunk LPs that we've done. Was playing Mega Man 6, because I actually did it semi-competently. But I also played it drunk again fairly recently. I think like last year when I played it on the not on the channel, but when I got the Legacy Collection, I played through that while I was drunk, just by circumstance. But yeah, this is a really, really fun game. There's a lot of polish to it. Jetpack Mega Man is awesome. The soundtrack is awesome. Yes. Mega Man 7 for the Super Nintendo. I don't know if to put this A or B.
What does your heart tell you? To me, this is the one that came out for Super Nintendo that's not as good as any of the Mega Man X games.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I remember it as.
The level design and some of the ideas were okay. The soundtrack is good as always. Some of the Robot Master weapons were kind of eh. I absolutely hate the final boss. I mean, as most people tend to do with this game. And that's really like the main thing that makes me not want to play it, is like I really like playing the rest of the game, but it's just that final boss at the end that just kind of ruins the entire experience for me. But regardless,
it's like life, really.
Yeah.
Life is wonderful, but the final boss at the end just kind of ruins it.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'd rank life an A.
It's like a C tier, you know.
I think I'll give this an A, though. I mean, it's the final boss, I think, is the main thing that's holding it back from being an S. It's a good game otherwise. Then I think technically we would go to Mega Man and Bass. That was the next game that was technically made. It didn't come out over here until like the Game Boy Advance.
Mm-hmm.
I never beat this one. I think one of my friends had it on the Game Boy Advance, and I played it, but I never really got into it. There was just a lot of... Actually, no. This was actually... Despite the fact that it came out for the Super Famicom, this was actually made after Mega Man 8. That's where I should be going for Mega Man 8 first, because that was the next one that was made. And Mega Man 8, I played through in its entirety fairly recently on the Legacy Collection, and is not that good. I know there are a lot of more people that are defending it these days, and I can kind of see where they're coming from, but there's a lot about the game that just feels wrong. Just kind of the way it handles a bit. It doesn't feel as good. I don't enjoy the boss fights whatsoever. The Swordman stage was okay, but basically any given thing about the game is either, I would say, either meh to no.
Okay.
And the jump slide just killed it for me.
Oh boy, yeah.
I mean, not necessarily in Frostman stage, but like when you got to the Wily stage one, that just killed it for me. So I don't like this game. That's going D tier there. Okay, so that brings us back to Mega Man and Bass, which, despite the fact that Mega Man 8 was originally released on the Saturn and the PlayStation, this came out on the Super Famicom afterwards. And I remember this being not so great either. This was just more along the lines of, especially considering the fact that it was on when it was converted over to the Game Boy Advance, it was almost impossible to play.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you could play as Bass didn't really help things. So from what I can remember, I will give this a D as well. Again, I could probably just play it now and have a different opinion on it, but from what I've seen of it recently, like I've seen like review videos of it recently and whatnot, it doesn't seem like I'm that far off. Mega Man 9 has an interesting one. Okay, so if you were to ask me about Mega Man 9 a few years ago, I would have put it in D tier straight away. But since playing it on the Legacy Collection a couple of years ago, it was last year was the Legacy Collection, right?
Yes.
On the Switch. I kind of warmed up to it. I mean, the soundtrack is phenomenal. I never thought that it wasn't. Even when I didn't like the game, I still thought the soundtrack was really good. I was able to get past a lot of the. I will still say a lot of the traps and whatnot in the level design are still bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that bad once you know the bullshit is coming, but it still shouldn't be there in the first place. But the Robot Master fights are actually a lot of fun. The Robot Master weapons are great. And like I said, I did kind of warm up to this one, so I would put this one on under B tier.
Mega Man 9 is the one that I remember playing for a bit, becoming very confused, and then going back to one of the old Mega Man games and playing for a bit to realize that, no, I'm not getting old. This game is just really, really hard.
Yes. And that's one of its major flaws, in my opinion. Mega Man 10, I think they were trying to go for more of the Mega Man 9 thing, but it just kind of felt like a step back. They did add an easy mode, just to kind of shove it in people's faces that, oh, you're just suck at the game, here, have an easy mode. When I played through it on the Legacy Collection, I played through on the normal difficulty. And it was still very annoying at many, many parts. And then I played through it again on easy. I didn't play through it all the way on easy, but I found easy mode was just a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, same.
So I think that's kind of a detriment to the game's design. When the easy mode that's being given out to people just because they suck at the game and need to get good makes it tolerable and more fun. And is that a valid complaint to have?
No. Yeah, I think it absolutely
Okay.
is. I was saying, no, it's not, I thought that's how you were phrasing it. Like, no, it's not a invalid thing.
No, it's just that's how I felt about the game. I mean, and a lot of the stuff was a step back. The Robot Master weapons sucked. The Robot Master fights were blah. The soundtrack did have some good tracks in it, but a lot of them weren't nearly as good. I'm going to put this under C, along with the first Mega Man game. And then we have Mega Man 11, which also came out late last year. I don't know. Did you play 11?
I have not played 11 yet, no.
Okay. 11 is real...
I played the demo.
Okay. I was actually kind of thrown off a bit by the demo. Because when I first played through the demo, I was kind of like, this is just kind of meh. It felt like they were... When I played the demo, I got the impression that they were trying to make more of a jab at Mighty Number 9 than anything else.
Oh yeah, because it's
Yeah.
all about kicking them when they're down.
Yeah, and I felt like they were focusing more on that than trying to make a good solid Mega Man game. And then I just finally was like, despite the fact that I was gonna hold off on playing it until later, I decided to go ahead and get. I think I got it like I don't know if it was a sale or something, but I did. I think I just eventually I may have just eventually just came and bought it, but it's actually very good. There are some points that I don't like at all, but those are very, very few and far between. I like a lot of the new things they brought to the Mega Man formula. I like the dual gear system that they have. That's actually very fun and useful. And I like how that system brought in kind of like how in Mega Man X you can power up your master weapons.
Like you can do the charge for like the tier 2 and 3 with the boss weapons as well as like your standard buster.
Yes, it's sort of the same kind of thing there. And a lot of the weapon effects with that were really, really fun. So I'm actually going to give this an A. Because there was a lot of fun to be had with that game, and it was really good. And that brings us down to the Game Boy games.
They're like Mega Man, except you can take them with you on the go.
Well, that's pretty much any of these now. These are all except for Mega Man and Base, which is on the Game Boy or Game Boy Advance anyway. All of these are on the Switch, so you can play them all on the go anyway. But back in the 90s, there were only 5 Mega Man games that you could do that with, and there were these 5 here. And I know Greg hasn't played any of these. I mean, you just fucking mentioned that at the beginning of the video there, but
not at all.
But I have played all of them. So let's start with Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge.
It doesn't say that on there.
I know it doesn't. This is what it shows on the title screen, but in Japan they were all called Rockman World. 1 through 5, but I guess to differentiate it, at first they called the first Game Boy one Dr. Wily's Revenge over here, and then the rest of them were just Mega Man 2 through 5.
Because if they didn't do that, people would buy the Game Boy version and then try to fit it into their Nintendo, and it would just be chaos.
Dr. Wily's Revenge is kind of iffy for me. A lot of what I think about the first Game Boy game is what I think of a lot when I think of the first NES game.
Okay.
It is a good solid entry, but it's just it's rough around the edges. It's too hard for its own good at many points, especially considering how the resolution is, because you have the Game Boy screen, which is much smaller than your TV, but a lot of the sprites are basically 1-to-1 size. Mm-hmm. So you have big old sprites on, which is fine for me because it's easier to see. But it does mean that a lot of there's vertical scrolling a lot of the time and all that. And again, it's not one that I usually go back to, but it is a good solid effort for your first time out. So I'll put it at C because I don't particularly like it, but I can see why other people do. And then we get to Mega Man 2 on the Game Boy. Now, bit of a story with the Game Boy entries. These were all.
Oh, what a story!
These were all out. These weren't made by like the same, I guess, dev teams within Capcom that made these ones here.
Okay.
These were made by a different dev team. Mega Man 1, 3, 5, 4, and 5 were all made by one dev team. Mega Man 2 was outsourced to another dev team. And it's not very good.
No?
No. I've found tolerable, but it's very sloppy.
That's the wonderful front of the box quote. It's tolerable. Radio emoji.
It's very sloppy. It's, there are lots of situations where you try to, you really are. How in lots of Mega Man games you don't necessarily have to fight every enemy that you see. You can just kind of like go past them if you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. There are times where you can't do that in Mega Man 2 because they're like, oh look, here's the big fire breathing dog enemy from Woodman stage. But it's basically put into a position where you can't jump past or anything. You would either have to fight it or just tank your way through and take damage. And I don't think that I'm fairly sure that the dev team who did this also did other crappy Game Boy games that weren't very good. But as a result, this one is a D. It's not a good game. So when Capcom saw what a great job that they did with this game, they went back to the guys who developed the first Mega Man game on the Game Boy, like, hey, you can do the rest of these. So Mega Man 3 was actually a huge step in the right direction for the Game Boy series. It fixed a lot of problems that they had with the first one, and just like there's a lot more polish. It feels a lot more built for a Game Boy game, and one of the main things about this series, the Game Boy games, is that in any given Game Boy game 1 through 4, you have the Robot Master split up into two groups of 4. Mm-hmm. There's a group of 4 that they took from the NES counterpart game, and then there are 4 from that game's sequel. So for example, with the first Game Boy game, you had Cutman, Fireman, Iceman, Electman, and then later you would fight Flashman, Bubbleman, Quickman, and Heatman, I think.
Okay.
And they kind of did a thing where in the first one, you fought the first 4 from the normal stage select screen, and then the 4 Mega Man 2 bosses were fought in like the teleporter part of Wily's stage.
Right, the big boss rush at the end that they always have.
Yeah, that was Mega Man 2 bosses instead, and it was kind of like a rapid succession of getting stuff.
Right.
Mega Man 3 actually split up into 2 different stage selects, and also had like a mini boss in between. So that was kind of a nice way to transition, and you could still have more of a better idea of which ones you're fighting. Anyway, it's an what I'm trying to get is it's an A game. I just went into like explaining things and it didn't really go toward what I thought of it. It's a good
fair. Hey, this game good.
Yeah. And now we get to 4 and 5. 4 is fantastic. It actually did a lot of things for a Mega Man game that like the NES games weren't doing at the time.
Wow.
It had like a story that was ongoing as you played. Mm-hmm. Like there were a few story cutscenes that popped up here and there. There were animated, still done. Not necessarily within the games. Like they, not like full motion video or anything like that, but animated cutscenes in the game. And you know how a lot of the later games had like a shop system, mm-hmm. where you like find bolts and whatnot. This game actually started that trend.
Oh, okay.
And basically, it's just it's very much a step up from Mega Man 3, and there's so much polish to it. The gameplay is fantastic. This is an S rank, but it gets better with Mega Man 5.
Really? I didn't know the Game Boy games were this good.
Mega Man 5 on the Game Boy is okay. I said that like 3, 6, and 5 were my top 3 of the classic series. Mm-hmm. I would probably actually place Mega Man 5 for the Game Boy within there somewhere.
Okay.
Probably at either number 2 or probably at number 3, really, after Mega Man 6. The thing with Mega Man 5 is when I was a kid, we were at like a electronics boutique.
Okay.
Which is GameStop before what it is today.
It's gone now.
Well, there was an electronics store here. It's gone now. And I remember seeing this like this. We were looking through Game Boy games that we might want, and we saw Mega Man 5 on the Game Boy on the Game Boy as one of the things. And my mom asked if this is something that I would want because she knew that I like Mega Man. And me, a stupid child, was like, "Oh no, we don't need that. We have Mega Man 5 on the regular Nintendo.
We have Mega Man 5 at home."
Yeah. And years later, as a young adult, when I saw what Mega Man 5 on the Game Boy actually was, I was kicking myself so hard. Because I'm like, this is actually looks really cool. And I think I was, because we were all into the emulation thing at the time. And I tried, like, the ROM that I had was corrupted, so I couldn't really play it. And I tried, this is when I discovered GameStop was a thing, when I was living up in Connecticut for a year. I tried to see if they had it. Apparently, it's like a hard as fuck game to find.
Okay.
And I was just like so, mad at myself for not having a chance to play this awesome, what seems to look like it looks like an awesome game to begin with. I saw the Japanese version at Otakon one year, and like it was like $80. It's right there. But
hello.
But I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get this now because I don't know if I'll ever see this again. And I'm glad that I did, because this is a great game. It breaks the mold of the other 4 games in that, how I said that the other 4 just like recycled Robot Masters from. This actually has its own set of like original Robot Masters, its own set of original weapons, original levels, all that.
Original character, do not steal.
Yeah, and it is a super fun time. And now all 5 of these games, for better or worse, are available on the 3DS, and you can get them that way as well. And I wish more people would capitalize on getting, at the very least, Mega Man 4 and 5. That's an S rank. Both these are these games good. But yeah, that's my tier list for Mega Man games, classic Mega Man games.
How's it look now that you've finished it? Do you feel comfortable with that?
I do.
Okay.
Sometimes when I think of how I would rank them, just like kind of off the top of my head, I always just think of the first 6.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of weird to see like, oh, I've actually played 9 and 10 now, and I can place those somewhere.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that this is pretty much an accurate representation of what I think of the series at large. So,
okay.
Definitely, at the very least, the first 3 tiers I would recommend playing. I think they're the best representations of the series, obviously. Not these ones.
Not so much.
Even though there are a lot of people these days that are defending Mega Man 8 a lot more. I don't.
Fair enough.
But, other people might feel differently about Mega Man 2 on the NES, so...
And if you do, please let us know in the comments, and remember to like and subscribe.
Yeah. I don't know what we're going to be doing from here, because we kind of did this in lieu of podcast NLPs tonight, so...
Hey, we'll see. If you like this content, let us know.
Yep, so maybe we might do more of these in the future, who knows. But until then, I've been Ray to Go.
And I'm Solon Greg.
We'll be here next time. Join us, won't you?